Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight for our fifth Combermerian live interview, which is actually part two of our chat with one of Barbados's most well-known sons of the soil, a household name, a dog whisperer, a pet savior, none other than G Wayne GG Norville, GTE BSS JP. And for those of you who may be wondering what GTE BSS stands for, GTE is the acronym for the Golden Trident of Excellence, which is a national award, as well as the Barbados um, Service Silver Service Medal. And of course, we all know that what JP is all about, justice of the peace. So, thank you, Wayne, for joining us tonight for part two of the interview.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. Um, I will start by saying it's a good feeling when people appreciate the work that you do. And it has been a long pull, a long haul to get from where I started to get to where I am today, I should say. My beginning, or should I say, when I started, it wasn't easy to convince my parents that it was okay to love animals. They, like many people in Barbados, believe that animals were just there either for food or to be used, whether it was a horse for transport or a pig for meat or a cow for milk, stuff like that. But yet, they thought most parents at that time only spoke about the negative of animals. You would hear that a horse will kick, a cow will butt, a sheep or goat will butt, a cat will scratch, a dog will bite. So the average Barbadian grew up with these fears when it came to animals. So, and then they would say, but it's only white people that like animals. So there you have me in a situation where I was odd to the average Barbadian. Why you want to do this? Why you don't want to do something else like somebody else? How normal people behave. So it was kind of trying at the beginning. I got in a lot of trouble too, because one day there was this dog and it was just running around. It got out from, I knew the gentleman that the dog belonged, so it got out and it was just running around, and it was running in the road and running back up the road. So everybody was scared of the dog. So I went and I held the dog and I took the dog home by me with the expectation to take the gentleman's dog back home. But when he got home, he realized the dog was missing. Somebody told him that I took the dog. They didn't tell him to save the dog. I took the dog. So the gentleman came to the house and he started out, I stole his dog, and stuff like that. Well, that got my mother and father very annoyed, because the word steal, and you're a thief. In those days, that was, you didn't want your child to have that type of thing hanging over him. Anyhow, I got some warm lashes for it, and I was told I like too much dogs. That's what I was told.
Okay, I mean,
Right? Yeah.
we were going to ask you about your previous memories, following on from the first interview, and that was a very good story to share, some of the additional experiences that you would have had or suffered before entering secondary school. Are there any more that you would like to share with us?
Yes. Well, my mother always used to tell me when she was going out, do not leave the house. Do not
Yeah,
go outside.
won't go.
But there was this gentleman, he had a horse, a donkey, a cow, he had sheep, he had goats, he had everything that I would gravitate to. And that I did. But I was now going to high school, so somebody told my mother that I used to be down there with this man and these animals and stuff like that. So my mother was annoyed with me because she said, "You was a big high school boy, you don't have to right down there with the animals and stuff like that." So my mother decided she was going to hide my clothes so I couldn't go up. Hide my clothes, but she didn't hide my sister's dress, so I put on my sister's dress.
Oh my Lord.
I went out, look after the animals. You understand? And it's then that I realized you can't really shovel poo with a shovel in a dress. I realized that from early, So that was another problem. Another problem I had because somebody told my mother again it was down there, so it's fresh licks again. You understand?
Tell me something, Wayne. You spent a lot of your time in the RSPCA as an inspector, but for the viewing audience, what exactly is an inspector? What does an inspector do? What are his responsibilities and his roles?
Okay, an inspector is supposed to educate.
Mm-hmm.
If, for instance, I'm called a complaint, I just don't go and ask the complaint, respond to the complaint. I want to know when I leave there, that there's a solution to the problem the person has.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do lots of talking and lots of convincing, because what would happen is if I speak to this person with a situation through a complaint, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I found, as long as that person did what I told them to do, dealt with the solution this time, what will happen is if they saw somebody else doing the same thing, they would tell them. But sometimes people don't want to hear from the average Joe. They want to hear from somebody that they believe would know. So they don't do it. And then what happens is that the person will call me back and say, "Well, Mr. Norville, I talked to the man down the road and he's still doing the same thing. I want you to come and talk to him." So then I would go back and I would talk to the gentleman. And then that is how the word was spread.
Okay.
That's how it was spread. But it's not only that part. It is, it was trying to change the psyche of a population into something that, yes, people had dogs and stuff at that time. But, they just had them, like fed them scraps. They weren't fed properly. They never went to a vet. In those days, they didn't have that many vets in Barbados in any case. So a lot of people didn't take really good care of the animals. And most of the bitches would be roaming the road, coming in season, and, getting pups and things regularly. So that was something then that I had to try to get people to understand that they needed to do. But at that time, there weren't the laws. So I was basically using persuasion, quiet persuasion, to inform people. Yes, some people listen, but, some would say to you, "Man, my father, they're doing this here for years." A good example, bathing dogs in James Fluid. Ooh. Because at that time, James Fluid seemed to be the cure for all, for everything that everybody had. Every problem everybody had.
But if you use so much of that, it can damage your dog, can't it?
Well, of course, it would damage the dog's skin, and not only that, but ingesting it could poison the dog. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you see a dog just sitting there and licking the front legs constantly. The legs are burning, and it's burning from the James Fluid.
And then he's licking that stuff and ingesting
it. He's ingesting it also. Mm-hmm. So I would inform them that would be the wrong thing to do. Right? Mm-hmm. But what I would say is it wasn't the average person that I knew I had to get through to them. But it was people. There were people who I felt should know better. And I'll give you an example. One morning, I received a call. It was for a sheep that got struck It was right in front Paradise Hotel's gate.
Uh-huh.
Now this is a hotel. At that time, we would have called a 5-star hotel. And you know the type of guests that were staying there, the tourists that were staying there. So I hurriedly drove the van down to the gate. And when I got there, the tourist showed me the sheep and everything. And they put the sheep in the van.
Mm-hmm.
And when I turned around, there was this police officer on a bike. And he said, do you know that you just broke the speed limit? Now, I'll show you something. It was Spring Garden. It was only Marl. It didn't even have a name yet. Be honest. The road didn't have a name. Anyhow, he told me that I broke the law. So, long story short, I had to go to court.
But your vehicle didn't have ambulance status?
No, not at that time. I'm talking about
A long time ago.
70s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 70s. So I had to go to court. But I went to court, but my mother and father, I had to go to court because I wouldn't know what to tell my mother and father because you know court in those days
It's a big thing. Disgrace. Yeah.
Bad people is a disgrace.
Yeah, it's a disgrace. I mean?
Anyhow, I had to go to court. The guy that went, there were two fellas that went in front of me. One guy was riding the motorcycle without a license and insurance. The magistrate gave him a CRD, convicted, reprimand, and discharged, right? Mm-hmm. The other guy, he had done something, I can't remember what it was, and the magistrate gave him a CRD.
Mm-hmm. So
when it came to me now, in my turn, I explained to him the reason why I was trying to get to the animal as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
The magistrate put $75 for me. I only used to work for 65.
Because the values there. Yeah, those were the kind of difficulties.
Right. And you see, and a gentleman paid the extra $10 for me. Up to now, my mother, father, dad, and no one that court case.
Okay. So tell me, you know, with all these things that were going on, were there any more types of serious threats that you encountered while working to prevent cruelty to animals? For instance, like did you ever have to intervene against the practice of dog fighting or cockfighting or these kind of practices that cause damage to the animals?
Yeah, I spent a lot of my time dealing with cockfighting and dog fighting. I remember one time the police called and they had a tip that there was going to be this dog fight in Carrington's in St. Philip. And when we got there was only one dog there. But these guys normally have watchmen.
Yes.
They can have a fight. And dog fighting was a lucrative business. Don't let people fool you. It was lucrative.
It's lucrative, yeah.
Right. And these guys knew that they would lose money and stuff. So they might lose their dog if I get confiscated. So somebody must have called the other guy and he didn't come. So obviously there was no fight. But the Saturday morning after, I usually, after work, I will go out to my watering hole just to free up the mind and stuff. And this guy came to me and he said, you know that we have a contract out on you. I said, whoa. Contract? For what?
That's serious.
He said, you see that dog fight you saw yesterday? You know how many people lose money in that dog because there was no fight? I said, well, I'm doing my job. So that was, I said to him, I said to myself, you know, when people are going to do you wrong, they don't normally tell you. You know, so I brushed that off. But then the same fight or the same issue, I went to the abattoir and a lot of the dog fighters used to assemble down with the abattoir for dog meat, right? To get meat for the dogs. Mm-hmm. And this guy told me, one of these days, I am going to chop you up, put you in a bag and drop you in a red. He told me that. I brush off it too because let me tell you something, see Charlie, I don't ever believe anything is going to happen to me. I have always kept that positiveness in my soul that nothing is going to go around with me. When I was 24 years old, I had a serious talk with myself. And there were two things that I told myself I wanted to achieve in life. One, peace of mind, and two, contentment. And I could tell you here now, I have achieved both of them.
Oh,
So I
that's great.
don't worry about what people say.
All
You
right.
understand? I don't worry about that.
So tell me, what are your um, disappointments and or frustrations with the policies that could have been implemented during your career that would have further enhanced like dog control management programs and enhance the sort of situation under which animals exist in Barbados. I understand you would
I
have read the paper.
I would say from the outset, I do not think the RSPCA was ready for me. I don't think so. Because they were happy doing what they wanted to do. That was picking up dogs, treating dogs and stuff. But as far as, going to getting into laws and dealing with court cases and stuff, they weren't into that. I never had 100% from them with that. Never had it, right? Court cases, investigation, everything was left up to me. There was nobody else involved in stuff like that. Nobody else. Nobody else got involved,
Mm,
right?
mhm.
As far as laws and stuff like that, when they brought into they established the Animal Control Center. That was in 1979.
Mhm.
The Animal Control Center had their own laws. The Cruelty Animals Act had their own laws, but at that time the laws were the Cruelty Animals Act laws. Oh, they were very flimsy. They didn't have any teeth,
Okay.
so we had to go back. I think it was in 2000. In 2000, we went back. I had a look at the Cruelty Animals Act, and we updated penalties and we did laws and stuff like that, and we did things like that.
When you say
But
you mean the RSPCA?
the
Oh,
RSPCA was involved, but at that
yeah.
time it was the RSPCA, the police, what, the Veterinary Association, um, and there were about five or six. I can't
Okay.
remember all now.
All
And
right.
we decided to have a committee, and we would work with getting the laws updated and the penalties. So that was 2000. But I had a case where a very prominent man in this country allowed some guys to fight cops on his premises.
Mhm.
The police turned up at my house, 6 vans, a Sunday evening. So you know where he lives. So everybody know probably figured out that man got drugs or something. So in the house.
Yeah, yeah, they can think the
But
worst.
they just came from a raid, a cockfighting
Mhm.
raid,
Mhm.
and they held the arrested the two guys. They got charged,
Mhm.
but the lady, the lone police woman that was on the raid, she asked me when they brought the cops to me. I had to take the cops to the clinic, and what I would do is photograph head, body, legs, feet for each cop, each individual cop. So I could see injuries on the head or if they had them on the body and blood like on the spurs and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So when he was doing that, she asked me, she said, but seeing that the person that the land belongs to was there, he can be charged too. So he said, yes, he should be charged. So I went to the sergeant that was in charge and I asked him, I said, why wasn't this guy charged?
Mhm.
He said, man, yeah, Barbados too, man. You charge, nothing can come out of that, right? So that was one of the obstacles they had to deal with. But do
Okay.
you know the following Sunday, 5 boys from Bush Hall were caught fighting fouls. And they brought those folks to me, cocks to me too.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to go through the same process. But you know, those 5 guys went to court the Tuesday morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is basically who you are,
Right.
as you
So
know.
they went to court the Friday morning. But you see, the problem that I had with the RSPCA was their number. You know that these societies work off of donations.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that will donate money are people who obviously have the money to donate and have the clout to decide whether or not certain things should happen,
Mm-hmm.
right? For instance, if you wrote an article in the paper about a company and that company advertised with that paper, the company, somebody from the company is going to call the paper and tell you, don't think that story. Don't run that story or not, we'll draw ads from you. And that's how a newspaper makes money.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So that is what I was against.
Okay.
Right?
I mean, these are some of the obstacles, but I know there were probably some other obstacles that impacted either positively or negatively on your career. For instance, like licensing, the licensing of animals,
Mhm.
use of microchips.
Mhm.
Um, as the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals does internationally. Uh, um, that could have probably been implemented in Barbados. And did you suggest something like this? Did you
Mhm.
overcome some of these issues, or did you repair having some of these issues still or resolved and still fighting with them?
Okay. In the 90s, we had a problem with the bont tick in cows. The bont tick. It was a tick that was causing some problems with cattle.
Mm-hmm.
So um, they realized that some of the same dog fighting dogs used to be removed from one part of the island to the other, right? So that is how the tick could spread to the island, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted a dog management program written so they would be able to work off of that paper.
Mm-hmm.
So they contacted me to write the dog management program. This was done in 1997.
Right.
When the program was nearly finished, they I there was a delegation here from Chile, and they read it, and they said they wanted it to use in Chile.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it wasn't finished. So as soon as it finished, we sent it off to them.
Mm-hmm.
But the program was there. It was there from 1997. I remember in the Barbados Labour Party's um, tenure when Dr. Jerome Walker was Minister of Health.
Mm-hmm.
And the Animals Act falls under the Ministry of Agriculture. And the Stray Dog Act control falls under agriculture. That's another thing that I was trying to get under one umbrella because sometimes you get laws crossing one another. Anyhow, we had a meeting and I spoke to Dr. Walker about it. And he decided that he will go, they decided um, they will go to the Charlie, excuse me there a minute. My battery low. Hold on a minute. Sorry about that. You don't forget to plug in the computer.
Computer, yeah.
Anyhow, yeah,
Yeah.
right. So he went as far as to bring in the microchips
Mm-hmm.
so we could start the process of having all dogs microchip um, because if you don't have a proper licensing system, right?
Mm-hmm.
You like just spin top in mud.
So
You
this
need
this was normally these kind of animal control things would normally be done under the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Agriculture, or
the licensing would be done under the Ministry of Agriculture,
mhm.
but the Cruelty Animals Act at that time, the Cruelty Animals Act was always under Ministry of Health,
That's,
right?
that's
And
odd.
if you're dealing with implementing things like microchipping and stuff like that, it fell under the Ministry of Health at that time. So Dr. Walker was the Minister of Health, so he decided that we would bring the microchips in and thousands of them and everything. But the government changed,
Mhm.
and nothing was done for the length of time. So the microchips probably somewhere, wasted money, But the problem is still there because when I see look on the lost and found page, and I could see dogs in very good condition, but yet still these dogs are running the street,
Mhm.
making nuisances of themselves, pulling down garbage, soiling people's lawn and stuff like that. And you could see that these dogs belong to someone.
But there was no
No,
way of identifying or tracing them.
no, there's no way of doing that because they're just smart. When you put a tag on a dog's collar and that dog dies, and the Belgian go and get another dog, he take the tag off of that dog and put it on the new dog.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
understand? So there's no record. There's no way of saying, well, right now we have 200,000 dogs in Barbados because there's no proper record. We only have the ones that are licensed,
Right.
right? Which should be everybody that has a dog should have a license.
Yeah.
And it doesn't only work in that way. It works when if your dog escapes, because there's always possibility a dog will escape. You might go out and leave the gate open, and the dog might run out, right? Your dog escapes, and let's say it goes down the road. It's not accustomed to traffic. Brats get hit with a car. Now if that dog was microchipped, it would be so easy to locate the owner, to let the owner know that your dog was struck. It's by
Such and such. What do you want to do? You want us to take it in,
right.
or you get it, or what?
You want me to call the Animal Control Center? You want me to call the RSPCA? Who do you want me to call? Right? If you say, well, okay, I'm going to come for my dog. Okay, that's another option too. But at least we know who the dog belongs to. The same way you license your car.
Mhm.
And we have to, and the powers that be have to know your car number, your registration number.
Mhm.
It's the same thing. Now a car can't get up and go anywhere by itself, but a dog can.
Mhm.
You understand? A dog can. Dogs cause accidents on the street
Man,
because
tell me
people.
something. Tell me
Go
something,
ahead.
man. You seem to know. I remember once a long time ago, I called you with a question about lizards because I had seen this strange lizard in my yard. And you sat down and you explained to me all the various species of lizards that I had in Barbados. Now, how did you gain your vast knowledge in animal care, animal rescue techniques, you know, the various types of animals? You know about horses, you know about cats, you know about dogs. How did you achieve this? How did you achieve this in your? I mean, you had a half
Re-
to do it in, but
really,
it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff.
anything at all to do with animals, I was always very interested in. I watched a lot of David Attenborough,
Oh yeah.
the guy Suzuki. Um, there were a lot of programs that I watched over the years, and I gained a lot of my knowledge from them. But I used to go to New York. I went to New York 31 times for Labor Day. 31 times. And every
Sure.
year I go, I would spend at least 1 week at
Mhm.
a zoo. So I actually worked in 13 zoos and 2 aquariums,
Mhm.
right? I actually spent time working. So and there were, each zoo was different because each zoo housed different animals, right? So that's how one of the ways I learned, and I concept everything to do with animals. I wanted to know. So as far as people might not feel that, the average person might not think that a lizard is worthy of spending time reading about, but that wasn't for me. You know, like I say to my wife could now see a centipede and don't jump up and want to fly through the roof and stuff like that, right? Because I explained to my wife, you know, I explained to my wife, a centipede, there's nothing on you that a centipede wants. Nothing on you. Usually, when you're bitten by a centipede, it is because the centipede felt threatened. You either step on it, you push your foot in the shoe, and the centipede was in the shoe. You put on a shirt that the centipede was in. You understand? But really and true, a bee doesn't want anything from you more than let your perspiration kill a bee. You understand? But as soon as you see a bee and you get scared, and the bee is coming to you, and you are fighting to get in the way, there's an action against a reaction to an action. And the bee wants to know where is he hiding from me? I got to find out. Right? Because really and truly, if a bee should sting you, that's the end of the bee's life.
Yeah, I heard so.
Yeah, that's the end of the bee's life. So the bee don't really want to waste the life. You don't want to waste his sting. That is supposed to protect the queen.
Tell me something. There must have been times where you've been in some difficult positions and had to make some difficult decisions in regard to animals. Maybe something so badly hurt that there's no hope for it and you're going to euthanize it or something. How did you handle situations like that?
Well, that was the toughest part of my job. I remember a situation with a horse. The horse was called Chevalier. It was a really good stud, yes. And that horse went blind.
Okay.
And Dr. St. John, then he was a pathologist. And he told me, when you put sleep the horse, I would like you to take the eyes out. I want to examine them. Right? So I got out the van, had the gun, and I was walking towards the horse. And for some reason, the horse just let out a neigh. I've never heard a neigh like that. I don't know if it sensed what was going to happen. I don't know. But that neigh stood with me right through my career. And I remember the horse was tossing its head, and you have to go directly in front of the horse. And it was tossing its head. But eventually, I got it to quiet down, and I was able to put it down. But that, as I said, that stayed with me. Whenever I heard that I had to put to sleep a horse, or big animal, horse, cow, donkeys, and stuff like that, if I know the night before, I can't sleep.
Whoa. Yeah,
if I knew the morning before I had breakfast, I can't eat. Right? It is only after it is finished. And if you know how many times I put to sleep a horse, or especially horses, because it's something about horses' eyes, right? And I put to sleep a horse, and like I would put the gun down, I would start crying, and the owner of the horse, but Mr. Norville, but you had to do it and stuff like that. But it was like, for me, this animal was standing in front.
Just a quick note to the producer, he's on, so he might want to mask himself. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and it was like this animal was alive a few seconds ago, and because of my actions, it is now.
It is now.
That's
gone.
The end of it.
Yeah.
And I hate guns. I would tell anybody that I don't like, because I saw the damage a gun could do.
Okay.
Now
tell me something. I also know that you were a relief worker during the Soufriere volcanic eruption in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. What was that experience like, and exactly what was
That
your role down there?
that was 1979. Um, After in fact, I had just gotten back from New York. I had one more week off, so I decided I wasn't going to waste it in Barbados to go to Grenada. So I went to Grenada. I got in Grenada I think it was the Friday, Friday daytime, and by night time the ash started to fall in Barbados. And I got a call asking me if I could come back because the RSPCA was sending a shipment of food. The guy served Bernard. He had lots of cows and horses and stuff in Grenada. And these animals, obviously, if there wasn't any food, they would have died. So they asked me if I would accompany the shipment of feed for the animals. And yes, I did that. That was my first trip to St. Vincent. Um, I remember quite clearly having to um, traverse the area on horseback
Mm-hmm.
because obviously there was couldn't take transport and stuff like that. It was good exposure and helping to distribute the food and stuff like that.
Okay.
I saw it as an opportunity to help someone else,
Mm-hmm.
or and that too is one of the things that stood out in my career.
Well, I want to prompt the producer now. We want to look at some pictures. Um, First of all, we're going to look at some pictures of you in some rescue attempts.
Mhm.
So if we can play that fairly dynamic one with the cat being saved from the barbed wire. After that is finished, you will explain to us what went on during that exercise. Yeah, man. So, I mean, I tell you, I have a personal fear of that wire. That is Constantino wire. That's razor wire.
Yeah. Razor
Uh,
and barbed wire. It was razor and barbed wire.
so you got like threat to self as well there, and you
Mhm.
are you're dealing with an animal that's scared. So you could describe to us how you managed to calm that animal down and
It was a feral boar cat, and feral cats could be quite dangerous. They're,
mm,
it's for survival. They live off of survival basically. And but what happened is this particular cat. You remember when we had the freak storm that
yeah,
year,
yeah.
right? That cat was stuck on that wire right through the freak storm. So
Ooh,
that was blasted with wind for the duration of the freak storm,
sure.
right? So when I got there, I didn't have a ladder, so usually I improvise. So I use the van,
Mm,
just took the van
mm.
closer to me. And that's one thing about being an inspector. You never have all the equipment you will need
Oh,
because
I'm sure.
you could never picture exactly what you're going. All rescues are different, right? All of them are different. So when I got there and I realized I saw where the cat was, I put the van there and I got it and I realized the tail and back legs were really entangled. And I knew that the front paws and the mouth were free. So
Yeah,
I knew that I
I'm
had
sure.
the, I have to, all of them doing, I have to keep an eye on them, right?
Mhm.
So anyhow, when I got there and I climbed up, he was hissing at me and spitting and stuff. So I just quietly went into that voice, that very cool, soothing voice, and people say you're talking to an animal. Yes, you are. I am telling the animal, look, you're in a situation where you can't help yourself. I'm here to help you. Right?
Mhm.
And if you allow me to help you, I will be able to save your life. You know, people figure, well, you know, he's talking to a cat, you know. So,
Mhm.
so when I realized that, I put my hands over, and over the head, because I want to isolate the front feet and the mouth, the teeth, right?
Mhm.
I realized when I went to put my hand over, he hissed at me.
Mhm.
So I moved my arm back and I went back again, slower this time. And he allowed me to um, put my hand, and I was able to hold it by the scruff of the neck, right?
Mhm.
With my right hand. And then, you know, like the cat just calmed itself down. It
Mhm.
just calmed down. So I was able to get the tail, part of the tail and stuff out.
Mhm.
But then the reservoir was stuck inside the leg,
Whoa.
right? So that would be more painful. And, it would be, the cat would react more when I was trying to get it out.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
I did was I went back to the front of the cat, and, and I put my hand up like, like this. I took the glove off, put my hand up like this. And I said, I'll get you off, but you gotta give me a, a high five. And he can't lift up the paw. I was like, for real? Anyhow, I realized then that, he was comfortable. He was
Yeah.
comfortable. And I had gained his confidence. Right.
Mhm.
So I went back at it again. Eventually I was able to work the tail and the razor wire off it. Now this is a boar, a feral boar cat. But I believe because he went through so much during the storm, he had given up on fighting.
Right.
He'd given up on fighting. So
Right.
I was then able to hold him and put him in the cage and take him down to the clinic.
Rescue complete. Now tell me something. I know that your dad was a joiner. So again, the producer back end, if we can look for those photographs of the joinery of the cabinet, etc. And then you can tell us something about your love for that kind of work.
Mhm. Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, yeah.
So we
Um,
can, we can see we can see a very nice, Barbie's in fashion these days. So that look like a Barbie bed to me.
yeah, the young lady that I made it for told me she wanted it in Chevette colors.
Oh dear. All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, my dad was a carpenter actually.
Mhm.
But when I used to work with him, because my father used to build caskets, coffins,
Mhm.
and I would go to the different funeral homes with him to help him. And he taught me like the rudiments of carpentry.
Mhm.
My father would give me a, um, a 10-foot inch square wood, piece of wood.
Mhm.
And I would have to use a B plane to turn that into a dowel,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
equal right through the 10 inches, the 10 feet, right?
Yeah.
Then I had to cut it in half with a saw.
Mhm.
That was for the molding at the inside, on the outside of the casket.
Mhm.
Then he would give me a half-inch piece of wood,
Mhm.
and I had to then shave for the top of that,
Mhm.
right? And then cut that in half. But that was a little thicker than the molding. They used to call that batting, and that goes to the bottom of the casket.
Right.
So learning to saw those pieces of wood taught me the technique of actually learning how to use a saw.
Okay.
But all the other tools came in after,
Mhm.
right? But
Mhm.
as far as I started, because my wife was away and I wanted to surprise her. Whenever my wife go away, whenever she comes back, she always used to see something different. I
Something
always
new.
admit something new. Yeah. So I wanted a dining set for the house. So I went to a few of the stores, but when I looked at the work, it was pretty work, but I had two sons and they were young, and I told myself, if my two boys really got rocking these chairs and stuff like that, there's no way they were going to last, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So I decided I was going to build a table. So I went, I got the material, I built the table. My wife came back, she asked me where I got the table from. I said, well, I built it. She said, yeah, sure. So my son said, no, you build the table into it. She said, well, if you build the table, you could build the chairs, you know. So I built the chairs also. So then I started, acquiring more tools. I started doing, because I did all the work in my house. I don't know. There's a picture there with my display cabinet. I did all the work, woodwork, build doors, everything. I built the windows. I built the front door. I built everything. Right. This was that was a workstation I built for the same little girl with the bed, because it was supposed to match.
Okay. It
You
was
know.
supposed to. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the cabinet that's there, I built that. Um,
That look
I
like
built,
saying we're putting on course, boy.
yeah, I built that. Yeah, and then but I think my masterpiece really is my four-poster bed that I built.
Okay.
They should have a picture. They should have a picture because I sent it, but they should have a picture of that bed.
If you could
It,
perhaps take a look for that picture, and,
it took me
and then move on quickly
mm,
to the next question I want to get.
mm.
I
it
want
took
to
me
get
10,
tough
10 months to build that bed.
10 months
10 months, because obviously
part
I was
time.
on
Yeah, yeah,
I was on call
yeah.
24 hours a day, so I was
Right.
constantly, so I could only spend like 2 hours or maybe
Yeah.
3 hours on it at a time.
Well, we don't seem to be able to find that, so we'll move on to another area. You were the author of Rain's Art, which was a newspaper column in the Sunday Sun
Hmm.
uh, back in the 90s. It dealt with articles on animal welfare. You could tell us a bit about your audience, how long this thing ran. Tell us shortly, and the impact that it had on the animal welfare in Barbados. So if you could give us a
um, it,
very brief
it,
synopsis on this.
I used to receive quite a number of queries about, after the column went into the paper. I used to receive lots of calls from people who um, read it, and they were curious about some of the stuff that I wrote. And you know I, it was about animal care. So a lot of what I wrote, lots of people didn't know. So it was well received. It went on. I think I did that for like about 26 weeks. I think so.
Okay,
Hmm.
that's good. That's very very good. So
Hmm.
yeah, that all this work and publicity and stuff led up to you having been awarded several accolades during your distinguished career, over 55 years of service um, to the animals of this country and to this country. Um,
Hmm.
some of these accolades included, um, the Victorian Award certificate for animal life saving from the RSPCA in England. Uh,
That was in 1980.
yeah, that was in 1980.
Hmm.
You represented Barbados at the Bicentennial Conference in 84. You represented Barbados at the World Conference of Animals in Boston in 82. Um, you were awarded the Independence Award for Outstanding Service to Barbados from the Rotary Club Barbados North. You were appointed as a Justice of the Peace, and you were awarded the Barbados Service Star. You were also a recipient of the Barbados of the Combermerian Cool Flame Award from your alma mater for outstanding service to animal welfare. You also received the Vocational Service Award from the Rotary Club East in 2017. Um, out of all of your accolades and all of the things you have achieved and the honors that have been bestowed upon you, which one impacts mostly on you? Which one impacts mostly on you?
I would say it would be between um, the Golden Trident of Excellence and the RSPCA's in England, because that's an international organization, and to be awarded by them, I think is one of the things that, you know, it showed me that people saw and appreciated what I did or what I was doing at that time. And this was in 1980. So I would have done that was I would have been at the RSPCA 9 years, 6 of which I was at school
Mm-hmm.
and 3 working. So for those 9 years, and that was at the beginning of my career. So I mean, you know, that meant a lot to me that an international organization, right, had honored me. But all of the ones that I've had um, after that, they mean a lot to me also, because they too showed me that someone out there was watching and seeing the work that I was putting in, and felt that I should have been awarded for the work I did. You know, it isn't something that I was looking forward to, but you know, at least I can say that I have received awards for the work that I did,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very happy about that.
Okay. That's I'm very happy that you were recognized for your hard work. Now tell me, what suggestions would you want to give to viewers, especially like young ones who may be interested in veterinary studies?
First, I would let them know that it is what you see isn't normally what you get.
Mhm.
It is a lot more than just studying. It is being able to deal with human beings,
Mhm.
because um, being a vet is tough, because most of the time the person the owner of the animal that comes to you doesn't know what is wrong with it, and they are trying to get information from you. And I believe that it is your duty to make sure that when that person leaves you, that they should have been a lot better off um, in a position to deal with their animal, their pet, than when they came to your clinic.
Mhm.
And being an inspector, I believe you should learn the technique of not speaking down to people, but informing people. You know, what you did, you let them know that what you did wasn't right, but here is the solution.
Mhm.
Right? Here's the solution. I am retired. I still get calls every day, you know, from people who would say, well, I really don't know who to call, right? And but I need some advice. I would give them advice, because you know, I would prefer that person do the right thing,
Right. But
you know.
based on that, I know you're retired now, so I mean, it's some big shoes to fill. Um, you've had a distinguished career of service, right? How would you encapsulate what you have learned so that you can impart your vast knowledge to future generations? Because that's going to be very important. You've left a big hole now in animal care services in Barbados. You
Mhm.
know, I don't know if you had it on the study, but
Uh,
certainly you should think about some sort of formal training that could encapsulate all of these skills that you have developed over these 55 years, man.
yeah, I would be willing to pass the skills on, because somebody else has to do it. it's animal rescue, especially. You know, um, I would like to know that there are people who could assist an animal, you know, when it comes to rescue, because to wait for someone to come, you know, who's supposed to specialize in it, you know, sometimes it's too late.
Mm.
You know, I'm fortunate to say that in my entire career, I lost two animals, or three animals. I lost two dogs that fell in the tank, but they fell in the tank like four something in the morning, and the lady never knew that they were in there because until the morning when
For the lockdown and drum, yeah.
they did drop,
That's
right?
it.
And a horse. I lost a horse, and it's not easy, you know, when you get there and the animal is alive, that you can't save it. I mean, you tell you can't save everything, but
But
it
I mean,
bothers you because you want to know
animals is really
what
a good
you could.
record, man. You should be proud of
Pardon me.
yourself. I
Pardon
said
me.
losing three animals in 55 years is a very good record, so you should be proud of yourself.
Yeah, but
I'm really
um,
sorry, but you should be proud of yourself.
yeah, well, it was tough with those animals. It was tough. But I remember one year I saved 44 poison dogs.
Whoa.
Yeah, because it was in 1991. What happens is when you know when things get hard in Barbados, people go back to the land. They
Mm,
rush back to the land, or they rush back to keeping animals. And you have the gardener, you have the farm gardeners. They obviously have rodent problems, stuff like that. And people
right.
dogs, you know, strain going and you know
Yeah.
eating poison and stuff like that was one. Some people would put stuff like
Yeah.
slug poison, you
Deadly
know,
stuff.
in their gardens, you know, deadly stuff.
Deadly
Some
stuff.
people will spray grass with gramoxone,
Next one. Deadly
and
stuff again.
that is one of the worst deaths
Yeah, I
any
lost a
animal
dog to Gamoxone.
could suffer with. Yeah, one of the
Drainage
worst.
left so many, man. But
So yeah, that year it was 44 dogs. Yeah, I saved that year.
yeah.
And these were calls all over Barbados. I
Mhm.
mean, it wasn't in one area; it was all over Barbados. In fact, I have a mental map of Barbados in my head.
Mhm.
I could direct you like a GPS. I could direct you anywhere in Barbados like a GPS because I've driven this country
All
so
over.
many times. You
Well,
know,
tell me
I,
something, man.
Mhm,
Last question. Last question. At your present age now, right?
mhm,
What would you tell your younger self if you could get into a time machine?
mhm.
What would you tell your younger self?
Uh,
I know that's a
um,
hard
it's a hard one. I would have told myself, look, you got a lot of work to do, especially when a magistrate or a police officer could not understand why I did what I did to save that sheep's life. You understand? These are two
one.
people that's supposed to be a little more educated than the average man, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
couldn't see it. So after that, I told myself, you know something, man? You now got work to do. That's what I told myself.
Yeah.
Now got work to do. Yeah.
All right, man. I mean, this has been a fantastic hour, really and truly. And I've seen some of the comments there coming in from the live chat of our viewers on live, expressing their excitement and pleasure with everything that you're saying. But unfortunately, we've come to the end of our live stream session. Um, we acknowledge the technical difficulties we had in part one, and we made sure that there were no technical difficulties this time, so
Yes.
that the audience could actually get to see you and hear your story and get the full experience of being in an interview with you. So it has really been a pleasure to connect with you again, and to learn more about your life, childhood, um, and some of the lengths to which you went to save lives of countless animals in Barbados from some of the most dangerous places. And I will add at risk to yourself. So, Wayne, I wish you a very happy retirement. Thank you for your significant contribution and that you have made to Barbados and to the Caribbean. For that, we say a heartfelt thank you. Well done. Up and on.
Up and on. Up and on. Thank you very much.